Welcome again to the old principal. 我就是老校长, and we've come to another English instructional program. Now, today's lesson is a very interesting one. The title of the lesson is Skinner's Challenging Ideas. Now, I want to stop just for a minute because usually when we get to the word challenge, 挑战, or 挑战性的, but if you say 挑战性的, then you have 引起争议的这个思想, okay, and this man, this is the real man. This is B.F. Skinner, a very famous 心理学家. Okay, but we will come back to the story in just a minute. First of all, let's listen it. Try to listen to the story. This is very, very good. It's a true story. 真的是真的故事. So, listen to the story and I'll be right back.
Number 33, Skinner's Challenging Ideas. In a June 2002 survey, B.F. Skinner was listed as the most influential psychologist of the 20th century. Many people had been saying that Skinner's ideas were dangerous and that human beings were more than just pigeons. Most of Skinner's experiments had used pigeons, and his conclusions were that all behavior could be modified, obviously without religion. One day, another famous thinker came to visit Skinner. His name was Fromm. He disagreed with Skinner's conclusions. The two men sat across from each other, their folded arms giving the clear impression that neither man accepted the other. Around them sat some of Skinner's colleagues. Here's the way Skinner tells the incident. Fromm proved to have something to say about almost everything, but with little enlightenment. When he began to argue that people were not pigeons. Quotes, I decided that something had to be done. On a scrap of paper I wrote, quotes, watch Fromm's left hand. I'm going to shape a chopping motion. Fromm was sitting directly across the table and speaking mainly to me. I turned my chair slightly so that I could see him out of the corner of my eye. He gesticulated a great deal as he talked, and whenever his left hand came up, I looked straight at him. If he brought the hand down, I nodded and smiled. Within 5 minutes, he was chopping the air so vigorously that his wristwatch kept slipping out over his hand. After a while, Skinner's colleagues sent the note back with an addendum. Let's see you extinguish it. I stopped looking directly across the table, but the chopping went on for a long time. I personally believe that behind the scenes of life, there is more going on than meets the eye. There is a battle between good and evil. This is where I believe the Christian religion has a capacity to protect people from being controlled by unseen yet evil forces.
Welcome back. Now, in June 2002, survey, 调查. So this is 2002. So this is some years ago. B.F. Skinner, B.F. Skinner was listed as the most influential, 最有影响力的 psychologist, 心理学家 of the 20th century, 第20世纪. Okay, so this was a 调查, a survey, and they listed here, and you just saw a picture of him just a few minutes ago, okay, going on. Many people had been saying that Skinner's ideas were dangerous. 很多人是说，Skinner 的思想他的理论 is dangerous， 有一点危险呢。And that human beings were more than just pigeons. Now, in the picture you just saw, you saw B.F. Skinner with all of his pigeons, 鸽子. And so he did all these experiments on pigeons, not on human beings. And so people were saying, hey, you can do the experiments, 可以做实验，用这个鸽子做实验。But it doesn't mean that human beings will act like pigeons. Okay, so this is the danger that some people were seeing going on. Most of Skinner's experiments used pigeons. I just said that. And his conclusions were that all behavior could be modified. Modified meaning changed. 可以改变，可以调整 OK 这个行为 behavior 行为 So you can change behavior. Now the reason why that some people question that is obvious 显明的 OK without religion. In other words, you don't need religion to change people's behavior. Now, personally, I feel that there's a problem with this because 人的本性也不是那么好. It's the nature of human beings. But today's story, very interesting. I laughed and laughed and laughed when I first read it. Okay, so do you need 宗教信仰呢? I think you do, but let's go on with the story. One day, another famous thinker, 思想家, came to visit Skinner. Okay, his name was Fromm, Eric Fromm. He disagreed with Skinner's conclusions. 他不同意 Skinner 的结论. So he disagreed with his conclusions. Going on. The two men sat across from each other. Now, we need to spend a moment and draw the picture. You need close your eye. Well, I don't know if you want to close your eyes, you might go to sleep. But in your mind, draw a picture or see a picture. Here is two men, okay, they are sitting across, 面对面坐着, okay, their arms folded, giving the clear impression, what? That neither man accepted the other. Okay? So, what about their arms? Their folded arms. 交叉，他们的手背，这交叉了。Okay? Just like this. Okay? Giving the clear impression, 很清楚地显出来 Okay? That neither man accepted the other. 不认同对方 So they don't agree with each other. Actually, when you see people and they have their arms or their legs crossed, okay, it is often an indication that the people are not accepting what you're saying. Okay. Now, around them sat some of Skinner's colleagues. So Skinner's colleagues, 他的同事们，同事。And this story is told by Skinner himself. Now, I tell you that my mother, when she got old, she didn't want the books in her house. And so I got this book, and since I had studied psychology and education, 我是读教育, and so I had studied, I knew about Skinner, and so this was his autobiography, 自己写的故事. Actually, he wrote 3 books. Okay, so going on here. Incident, by the way, incident means 这件事件. Okay, so he tells the story himself. Going on. From proved to have something to say about almost everything, but with little enlightenment. This is the way Skinner said. From proved to have something. Now, sometimes you cannot directly translate the words. So you have to catch in the context, you have to catch what the idea is. Prove 是证明, right? So we know what prove is, or proof is, but this is, it simply says from had, 他有 what? Because they all listened, they all heard, they all recognized that from was saying a lot, 他说的是很多, something to say about everything. He was going to talk about everything. Talk about this, but with little enlightenment. Now, okay, 没有多少亮光. Have you ever heard of light? Okay, in this enlightenment means it wasn't very new things. In fact, you can say enlightenment is 没有什么新的事情, or 事实 or something like that. Little enlightenment. Nowadays we say the light has dawned. That simply means that suddenly, well, you understand something, okay? So a little enlightenment means that he spoke a lot, but didn't say much, okay? Certainly nothing very interesting. And this is Skinner speaking, remember? Skinner is speaking. When he began to argue that people were not pigeons, this is not the whole sentence, but we'll stop here. 当他开始争论，人不是鸽子，鸽子不是人。Okay, when he started to argue about that, going on, I decided that something had to be done. 我做决定，一定要做一些事。Now, this is the story. On a scrap of paper, 碎纸片 or 废纸，小小块的废纸。Scrap of paper. Scrap meaning it's like just a little tiny piece of paper. Of course, it's 废纸. I wrote this. 我自己写. Watch from's left hand. I am going to shape a chopping motion. Okay, now I need to stop at this because this is very important. Okay, so he's writing this to his colleagues. Okay, 给他同事看一看 from the 左手 okay I am going to shape a chopping motion. Now shape means to create. Okay, to shape, to create. Okay, chopping motion. What is a chopping motion? In this case, a chopping motion is like this. Remember when your mother was 切菜, chopping, okay? So now what he is saying is, watch from, I am going to create or make him 使他开始有这种工作 chopping motion, chop, chop, chop. Okay, going on. From was sitting directly across the table and speaking mainly to me. So remember, even when we started, From and Skinner were right across the table from each other. And From was not speaking to the other people, Skinner's colleagues. He was speaking just to Skinner. Okay, directly across, 刚好对面, okay, and speaking mainly to me. Now watch what this is. I turned my chair slightly. 一点点. I turned my chair slightly so I could see him out of the corner of my eye. Now this is very important. Actually, in his autobiography, he told two stories, but this one I think was the funniest one. So what did he do? He turned the chair, okay, so he turned the chair, and he's not looking at From right at the moment. He's looking that direction, but he sees him out of the corner of his eye. So he can still see him out the side of his corner of his eye. Okay, 眼角还可以看到，从侧边，在侧边还可以看到。So he still sees him, but he's not looking at him. Okay, I could see him out of the corner of my eye. Now here's what he did. He gesticulated a lot. What is it? What is gesticulated? Actually, gesticulate and gesture are very, very similar, okay? So he is using his hands, okay? 做一些手势, okay? 手势. He's moving his hands. If you gesticulate or if you gesture, you're using your hands. Do you know, some people when they talk, they just have to use their hands. Well, in a way, that's the way I am. I hate to have something in my hand. I want to use my hands. He gesticulated a great deal. So he's using his hands. 做这个手势. Okay? And whenever his left hand came up, 左手就上升. Whenever his left hand came up, I looked straight at him. Okay? When his hand went up, I looked straight at him. Going on. If he brought his hand down, I did what? I nodded and smiled. Okay. So, when his hand went up, I looked at him. when his left hand came down, what? I nodded and smiled. Okay, 我点点头，我也有笑容。Okay, I look up, and when it goes down, I nod, smile. Going on. Within 5 minutes, 5分钟后，5分钟内 okay, within 5 minutes, he was chopping the air so vigorously, 这么大力的这个有手势 up and down, up and down, up and down, that his wristwatch kept slipping off over his hand. Okay, his wristwatch, 他的手表就这个脱落出来. It just came right off of his hand, and he'd have to pick it up, put it back on, and he's going up and down. Okay, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. He was able to create, to shape this action. I've often thought about it. I wonder if people are trying to shape my actions. Going on. After a while, Skinner's colleagues sent the note back. Okay, so 过了一段时间, they had all seen the note. Everybody had seen the note. He just kind of quietly passed it down to everyone. So they had seen the 碎纸片. They had all seen it. They had all seen what he had written on there. So then the colleagues wrote an addendum. 又加了一点点. Okay, 复言. 复言 is an addendum. That is something that's added. Okay, let's see you extinguish it. Okay, 好，让我们看一看你怎么能够消灭它这种动作。He created it. Now his colleagues say, let's see you extinguish it. 消灭. Okay. Going on. I stopped looking directly across the table. I stopped looking directly across the table. This is Skinner himself is saying this. But the chopping went on for a long time. Up and down, up and down. He actually says that he probably shouldn't have done that, but he was. I didn't leave this in the story for today, but he said, "Man, I shouldn't have done this. It was kind of a little trick, and he shouldn't have done it." But I thought that was an interesting story because the chopping went on for a long time. Okay, going on. Now, here is my conclusion, and that is, I personally believe behind the scenes of life there is more going on than meets the eye. Whoa, 我自己深信相信 okay, behind the scenes of life, 在我们人生背后 okay, the scenes of life, 我们过的人生一切 okay, there is more going on than meets the eye. This is actually 也是美国习惯用语 going on more than meets the eye means 这个还是有一些看不到的，但是是真的东西，表面上看不到的，但是背后还是有一些东西发生啊。 there is more going on than meets the eye. There is a battle between good and evil. As a high school principal, I saw it every day. Okay, 善恶之间的斗争啊。This struggle between good and evil, between good and bad, is going on all the time. Behind the scenes, where you can't see it, not open to the eye, 在背后还是有这些了。Okay, going on. This is where I believe, my own personal belief, this is where I believe that 基督教的信仰还是有益处。In this sense, that we can protect ourselves, 保护自己。I believe that Christian religion, 基督教的信仰有能力保护人，避免 from, in this case, from is 避免有这个 evil forces 恶势力控制，避免这个恶势力的控制。This, I believe, is the value of the Christian religion. Without that, sometimes we 无法控制自己, no way to control ourselves. Well, not much time, but you'll have to admit that was an interesting story. Very fascinating. We have an email address, theoldprinciple@gmail.com, and we have a website, 我们的网站 www.theoldprinciple.org. Hey, we've already run out of time, but there's another interesting story coming up. I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.